Okay, so from here, what your next steps are going to be is you're going to go ahead and take just the drawing portion of this and you're going to copy it. The reason we do this is sometimes programs like Illustrator, Photoshop, and all that will save a excuse me, will save a timeline of the work that you've done. AutoCAD is not one that's like that. So once you do certain steps like region things, make them into a solid, it's no longer possible to make things into a 2D version of that. So what we do is we do this and make a copy of it. This is going to be something that's going to be very useful in some of the next projects we're going to do when we do a chess piece and a little pendant project that we're going to do. So this is going to be kind of getting used to that. So we're going to go copy. You're going to select just the drawing itself. Don't worry about copying the picture or the dimensions. And we're going to copy this straight down. Okay, to there. Now, it looks like on this copy that I did is I didn't trim this up a little bit. Yours may be trimmed or may not. I'm going to need to go ahead and trim off those couple extra little lines there. And then I'm going to go ahead and create this as a region or make this a region. So I'm going to go REG for region and select this and make a region. Now, I was lucky. Mine made a region. Yours maybe didn't make a region. If it didn't make a region, it means you have a little gap somewhere. You know, maybe here on this line, you have a little tiny bit of a gap on, whoops, that was a big gap. You have a little tiny bit of a gap right here on your line, you know, something like that, and things don't quite line up. Sometimes that gap is really hard to find. So you might look through it. You know, my first step that I always do is I highlight it like this. I kind of go around and look for any mistakes or any issues of lines hanging apart or gaps in there, but maybe you don't find that issue. So my strategy is this, is I try to break it up into smaller pieces. So I go line, I make sure my O-snap, is set to endpoint and perpendicular. And I draw a line from the end of that arc or line there, straight across perpendicular to this other side. And then I trim off either the top or the bottom of this. And then I go ahead and put an individual another line right back there. So now I'm made up of this part and this part. If I go region, I can narrow it down to like, okay, my issue must be somewhere in this top portion. So I'm going to go ahead and move this apart here, draw a line across this portion of it, and then maybe go ahead and break this up into another little part. I'll come up to here, from there to there. And again, I'll trim out this, draw a line back across here, region this portion together. And okay, all right, I'm narrowing it down. My issue must be somewhere in this section. So I go through here, put my line back across there. Now I know where my issue is because you saw me make that issue just a moment ago. So, but once you narrow it down, you can come back in here, put that back together. Oops, I did not get that put back together. You can put that back together. Wow, I'm struggling here with CAD. Huh, that's weird. It's going totally where I don't want it to go. You do. There we go. To there. Region that back together. Finally, I got that together. And then I can move all my parts back together. I'm going to move this one up to there. Golly. If I could hit the right keystrokes. Move the end of that to the end of there. Move the end of this to the end of there. Whoops, did not get it to the end point. To there. And then I can union all those back together. And I'm back to my one region. All right. So there that is. Now, once again, I want to make one more copy of this down below. And now that I have this all in one object, I'm ready to revolve it and make it a solid. So I'm going to go REV for revolve and make that into a solid down to there. And there now I've got my nice little solid model. Now, there is one other thing. Actually, there is not one other thing. I think that's it. So good job. We'll go on to our next little part. Okay, so now we've got our solid model down here. Now we're going to actually start to make the logo solid. What we're doing is we're making this so it's something we can print on the 3D printer. Everything we try to create is we try to create it so we can create it on the 3D printer or we can create it on the router table. And for that, it has to be a three-dimensional solid. On a 3D printer, we can't print a label that's a flat colored label. It just won't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset and make the bottle a little bit thicker. So for example, this logo, we're going to make it stick out from the surface of the bottle a little bit. So to start that, we're going to go back up here. We're going to draw a circle. So we're going to go C for circle. my O snap's going to kick in here, so I'm going to actually go ahead and turn my O snap off. I'm going to try to draw a circle that lines up exactly with this circle here. So my center point I'm going to pick about there and pull it out to about there. Now, wow, I actually got pretty lucky. I got pretty darn close that first time. If yours doesn't quite line up, just move it up a little bit, move it to the side a little bit, whatever you need to do to try to make that circle line up there with the outside. Mine is actually pretty close. Maybe just a little bit here to the side, I guess, if I was picky, and move it right to about there. So there, that lines up pretty good. Oh, and actually, maybe just up just a hair too for mine. All right, so that circle lines up pretty nicely there. From there, you're going to go ahead and draw one more circle. So you're going to go circle again. I'm going to connect this circle to the center point of that previous circle, and I'm going to make it right out here to line up with the other circle, the edge of the red and the edge of the blue, right there. Okay, so now next, what we've got to do, so we've got to draw this little arced line that's here for the top of this red, or bottom of this red section of the logo. The way that I do this is, I come over here to the side and try to just start it over here on the edge, not connecting it to anything because it'll be longer and I can copy it down and all that. So I start over here in the wide open, come over here maybe to my second point of my arc, and then try to bend this arc around to match. Now, I have my polar on, which makes it kind of tough, so I'm going to turn my polar off so I can move a little bit more freely and try to draw that first little part of the arc maybe to right there. That doesn't look too bad. I'm going to hit enter once, which repeats the arc command. I'm going to hit enter again, which connects my arc onto that previous arc. So now I'm going to bring over here and draw the next part of my arc. I'm going to draw it over to maybe about right there. Again, I'm going to hit enter once, enter again, and my arc's connected on there. Now I'm going to finish up with my last little piece of the arc. Right there, that doesn't look too bad, honestly. Maybe right here it's a little bit more of a bump than what I want, so there maybe I'd select this and maybe adjust this arc down just a little tiny bit, something maybe about like that. That's got that a little bit nicer maybe, but that's really a pretty nice little arc that goes through there. Okay, once you get your arc to match, they've made the Pepsi logo a little bit simpler. The one that we did last year was a little bit different than this because they've changed the Pepsi logo a little bit. But this arc down here matches this one up here at the top exactly. So all we got to do, don't draw it again, copy these three pieces of it, copy it straight down to right there, and make it line up. And bam, you're done with both parts of that arc. All right, so from here, what I want you to do is we're going to trim it up to make three separate parts of this logo. The first part is going to be this circle out here, which is going to be the white circle. Then we're going to make this little red piece up here at the top and this little blue piece down here at the bottom. So to do this, I need to trim up the red and the blue piece. So I'm going to go trim. I'm going to come out here, trim off that line, trim off that one, trim off that one, trim off that one. Trim it the same down here on the blue one. That was weird. Trim it there. And then I'm going to get rid of this piece of line here, or piece of circle here, on that side and on that side. Now, to see that a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and freeze the image. And there you can kind of see what I did. Trimmed it up to where I have the one portion here that's going to be that white portion, the red portion up here on the top, and the blue portion down here. Okay, so now we have that logo drawn up here on our first one where we have our image. My image is frozen. Here, I can go ahead and unfreeze that. But now what I want to do is I want to copy this down to this other bottle here. This is kind of where we're working. Here's kind of where we leave our original. So I'm going to go copy. I'm going to pick a little window just around those things. So I copy just that logo itself. So I'm going to copy that. Now when I copy it, I want it in the exact same position on my bottle below. So for my base point, I'm going to pick the top, make sure my O snap is on. I'm going to pick the top end of the bottle right there. So right there, I'm going to pick that end point, copy it from there. I'm going to copy it straight down to that end point right there. I got that put in that exact same spot right there on that bottle. Now on this one, we're going to go ahead and do what we did before. We're going to go ahead and region it. So we're going to go REG for region, select that bottle, hit enter. If I did it correctly, it says 3 loops extracted, 3 regions created. I can double check that by moving this one out of the way, and yep, 2 regions there, 1 region there. I don't want to go ahead and leave it there, so I'm going to go undo and move it back into place. But you need 3 regions there. From here now, what we want to do is we just have this as, again, a little 2D flat region here. We want to make this now into a 3D object. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and extrude those 3 portions out there. So we're going to extrude those 3 objects. And I'm just going to extrude those at 3 inches. Or no, sorry, 2 inches. Sorry, 2 inches. Extrude those at 2 inches. Then, now, notice I have those as this nice solid piece. I want to go ahead and copy those solid objects to my solid bottle. So once again, I'm going to copy from the end of the bottle up here at the top, the same as I did before, and copy them, this time not to the end of the bottle, but the center of the top of the bottle right there. And that has my logo perfectly put right there on the bottle. All right. All right, so next, what we've got to do is we've got this logo sticking out of the bottle. But it sticks out of the bottle, it's square, it's all blocky. It doesn't stick out of the bottle like that. That's not what we want. We want it sticking out and following the curvature of the body, of the bottle. So what we're going to do for that is, first, we're going to go here to our front view. Hopefully that's the front view for everybody. And we need to know what size our bottle is right here. And so what I mean by right here is this flat section is designated by this white line here and this top white line right down here. That's that flat section of the bottle. So I'm going to come up here to my dimension area, the annotation. On it, I'm going to pick the radius, and I'm going to zoom in there. I'm going to click right there on that white line with my little cursor and pull it out here to the side and see what size my bottle is. Everybody's is going to be just a little bit different. I got 1.44660. Okay, so now from this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to twist this up in 3D a little bit so I can see the top of my bottle. I'm going to go ahead and draw a cylinder. I'm going to go CYL, cylinder, CYL. Enter. For the base point of the cylinder, I'm going to make sure I have my dynamic UCS turned on. Remember that little thing down here with the lightning bolt on it. Dynamic UCS on. I'm going to highlight the top of my bottle and pick the center of it right there. There's the center of my bottle picked. I got this cylinder. I'm ready to start here. Now, the size I want to make the cylinder. I want to make the cylinder 0.03 larger than this number right down here. It's going to be different for everybody. For me, that's going to be 1.4 plus 0.3, 4960. For me, 1.4960. You're going to have to do the math on your own.
That's how much?
0.03. And if you need to use your calculator, that's fine. But 0.03 added onto that. Once you do that, hit enter. Now you have a cylinder that's 0.03 larger than this cylinder. Now just pull this cylinder down and through your logo. Doesn't have to come all the way down the entire bottle, but it just has to intersect this other part of the logo. So it has to go at least down that far. See mine there? It went a little bit further. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you want this logo curved off to this curvature. So up here under 3D Tools, in this section right here, there's these 3 things here: union, subtract, and intersect. What one of those 3 do you think I could use with what I have drawn to make that logo curve to the curvature of the bottle? Let's try intersect. So let's go intersect, and IN is a shortcut for intersect. Let's do an intersection of this large cylinder we just drew and an intersection of that cylinder of our logo, and hit enter. You should be able to zoom in there and see what we got. You've got this little cylinder that is exactly 0.03 larger than that other cylinder and follows the curvature of the bottle. And it looks pretty cool there. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want this other 2 sections of the bottle, this red section and this blue section of the logo, to stick out 0.03 further than the other part of the logo. So to do that, we're going to just basically do the same steps we just did. You're going to draw a cylinder, CYL. You're going to attach it to the top of my bottle, to the center, right there. Now, instead of 0.03 larger than this number, we're going to make it 0.06 larger than that number. So it's going to be, for me, 1.5260. Draw that, pull it down and through. Okay? So that's got me 1. I can do 1 of them, but I have to have two pairs of cylinders. You'll see why here in just a second. So I'm going to copy that cylinder.